Yes, this thing is on. Microphone's finally working this week. I'm gonna make sure I get this introduction down correct. What's going on, all Knicked up family? How's everybody doing this week? Hopefully good. We'll see. We're gonna do a little theme tonight. We're gonna kind of break out the dice tonight. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have what I'm calling tonight the Knicks Casino Royale. Yes, we're in the betting phases of the Knicks. We're going to see how these guys that I got coming on, what kind of gamblers they are. They're like, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. We'll see what they're able and capable of doing. So we're going to bring in some of the heavy guns, those that go to Vegas and bet their lives on it. Well, no, that'd be John Cicerani, so that's not him. These guys might be cheapskates, but we'll see what kind of people they are about the gambling business. I'm going to bring in first my man, Big Cuff from upstate. Cuff, what's good? How's things going, my friend?
I don't have a single complaint in the world.
Oh, man, that's my kind of people.
Getting excited for the season.
Nobody listening either. That's why you got no complaints, right? Exciting season, exciting. And we're going to bring in this dude who's been kind of MIA. He's a world traveler now. That's what we hear about him. So he's got plenty of money to bet on the gambling table tonight. Bringing in Big E. What's going on, Big E from Elmont? What's good, brother?
Hello. Everything's going good. It's good to be back stateside. As you can see, I was actually just in London to watch the terrible Jets play, but I did go. I went out there, had a nice weekend. Was very surprised to see just how much the English and European fans were into the NFL. It was very, very surprising to see the turnout, but it was very nice. Tottenham Stadium was very nice, and England did a good job hosting the event. So it was awesome.
Oh, good.
I was following some of your culinary adventures just now, just a couple of minutes before.
Yeah. I ate at a Michelin star restaurant, Gordon Ramsay's Savoy Grill. It's in the Savoy Hotel, which is one of the oldest hotels and one of the most swanky I've ever been in my life. Don't know if I really fit in, but I fit in for that night. So it was awesome. Yeah, they had a tasting menu, and it was fantastic. I had a really, really good time. Very cool experience. So
see, this was the right night to bring in the gamblers. See, somebody had money to burn. They went all the way to London, 5-star restaurants, dropped Gordon Ramsay's name. See, this is the right time to start spending money. We're gonna go deep into the pockets tonight because somebody gave somebody money, like Rick James said, right?
I wish that was the case. I wish it was money someone gave me, and that's just been my own.
You can't do the real quote, but you're on somebody's couch, kicking somebody's couch right now.
I applaud you for going over the pond to watch a winless team play.
Yeah, I mean, I had planned. I wanted to go last year because they played last year as well, and I wanted to go there. But I was actually in Germany when the Jets were playing in London, so I didn't go. Obviously, I was another hour away in another European country. And then when I saw that they were playing again this year, I said, I'm going to go. Let me go this year. So obviously this was planned out way in advance. I didn't know they'd be 0-5 when I went. But it doesn't surprise me that it's the Jets. It should have been a good bet that they would be 0-5 when I went. So, but yeah, again, just to have an experience in a stadium, and it's watching an American sport in a stadium in a English country, European country, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool. And it was awesome. Like I said, the fan support was tremendous. It was really cool to see.
Probably nostalgic for them seeing something they're not used to seeing. So
yeah, I mean it's wild. Like you saw a bunch of different jerseys from every different team. It wasn't just the Jets and the Broncos. They just know the NFL and they figure this is a chance to watch a game, and they rock the colors of whatever team I guess they truly root for, or whatever they saw in the stores. Like, oh, I'm going to that game. Let me grab one. So I feel, part of the team, part of the crowd. But yeah, if you ever have an opportunity, even a basketball game, I would even say that if the Knicks, like they were in Abu Dhabi, I would love to have gone there to watch the Knicks play in Abu Dhabi. But it would be cool to see just what the response is like Because I know the NFL is a obviously more international sport than football, American football anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been cool. It'd be cool though to do that, to go somewhere else and watch the Knicks play or just watch an NBA game in a different country. I think it'd be cool.
I've always said if I got wealthy, I would visit every stadium, every arena that the NBA team played.
Mm-hmm.
Go see them all just to see what the experience is like. I don't think it would match New York, but I still think maybe Boston, maybe Boston with that energy. But I would definitely like to see how they take on basketball because we hear about the media standpoint that the New York is the worst place to have to deal with as an athlete media wise because you have so many different outlets that are covering you as opposed to you go to Minnesota and there's like one newspaper, and he's on a coffee break or she's on a coffee break. So it's not the biggest thing in town. So that experience was pretty interesting to see. Probably Oklahoma City is probably like that too, I would think. OKC probably has that camaraderie for their team, much like a college team, I would guess.
Yeah, maybe we can do that one of these years. Go watch a game in another city. That might be fun.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Might be fun to do.
So, we're about the business of the Knicks. I said Eric is a gambler. We've seen him gamble. He took a gamble to go across the pond and watch a busted team.
It's a good way to put it. Yes.
If that's not gambling, folks, I don't know what the hell gambling is. I, on the other hand, I'm going to play what they call a croupier tonight. I'm not the biggest gambler. Everybody knows I'm a notorious cheapskate for putting down my dollar in a casino. Hell with that. I want to be actually the house and gain the money. But do I want to spend my money? Oh, hell to the no, I don't want to. However, I'm bringing in these two gamblers because I think one of you or two of you have to have some gambling blood in you, I think. I don't know. Joe probably is one. I don't know. Poker player? No?
I hate to lose money.
Maybe me and you. Maybe it's Eric. He's the only one there because I hate losing money too. But we need to bring John on for this one. He would have been ideal for this. The scissor hand dude. However, we're going to go into basically what the season is. The Knicks are obviously one of the favorite teams to win everything, as we know. But we know there's some decisions to be made in the coming days. Some of those decisions have already been made, and we'll discuss. Something did transpire today.
Yes.
However, what we're going to talk about is whether or not the Knicks, much like their betting odds, I don't know what the betting odds is, but it's pretty favorable for the Knicks. I think they got the third best odds. They're tied for the third best odds of winning the title this year. So I said I'm going to take this from a little perspective of a gambling perspective of poker, a little bit of poker, a little bit of cards going on here. And the first thing I want to bring up is this right here. Royal Flush. That's known to be the best hand you can have in poker from what I've been told. 5 of a kind. Highest 5 in the deck. You pretty much got that. You just seal the deal and you're going home with a bag.
Yep.
When looking at this, and you're the New York Knicks, and you both have these hands. This is the hands you both have. Each one of you, I just want to ask you, do we have a winning hand that can win it all with the starting 5 only? We're only talking starting 5. How do you feel this starting 5, your royal flush, this is the Knicks, what they declared to be their royal flush going into the to the regular season and hopefully into the playoffs in a deep post run. Do we got what it takes? Is this the hand that is actually going to win it all when you push all the chips in the middle of the table? I don't know who wants to go first. I'm going to throw it to Joe, the cheapskate. He don't like spending money. This is like a guaranteed thing for him because he's like, well, look, I'm going to win this hand because this hand is unbeatable.
I like spending money. I don't like losing money. There's a difference.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. So we're talking about this. Do I think we have a winning hand? It's one thing having championship level talent and winning the whole thing. Nothing's guaranteed. We have a shot, though, and that's what you hope to get your franchise towards. We have a shot. Would I say they're the favorites? No, I would not say they're the favorites, but they do have a legitimate shot. This is a starting 5 I would put with anybody in the league, to be honest with you. Perhaps, you have the top. And let's face it, it is top shelf talent between Brunson and Towns. And you have high level supporting cast here. They don't really have a hole. Now, this is also contingent on Mitch being healthy. Obviously, it's also contingent on OG being healthy and not like falling down a bunch like we saw the season before last. But yeah, I think this is a recipe right here that could take home a ring. I don't know necessarily that I'm going to sit here and pound on the table and say they're winning it this year. But I do think, and we talked about this before, Ty, I feel like their window may be open for a while, considering the contracts and everything, but I feel like this is the window this season. So we'll see what happens, man. But I feel better about their shot at winning a title since, really probably 94. Honestly. After going, it's just we'll see what happens, man. But I am optimistic. I am hopeful, and that's a beautiful thing for as a fan. That's what you want.
Absolutely.
I mean, me and Eric get our heart broken on a regular basis with football, but with basketball, I am genuinely optimistic and hopeful. That's what I got.
So some of the chips have gone. He hasn't pushed all the chips, but. You'll do
winning a championship is hard, even if you have the talent. So you got to be healthy at the right time. It matters who you draw in the playoffs. A lot of things go into it.
So you're partially Wesley Snipes here. You're betting on black, but you're not completely betting on red too. So you're in the middle. Is that what it is? Because you know what happens.
I don't bet on anything. However. If I were to go in a hand, this season is the hand I would go in. How about that?
That's why. It needs the chips and
particularly this season is the hand I would go in on.
Nice. So we almost got you fully broke. You almost putting all the chips in. Let's see. We're gonna go to the guy who I'm more than sure is like, this ain't even no damn Royal Flush. This is more like a couple of pairs.
It has it. Okay.
Eric, and here's whether or not he is going to pull out that wallet. No, he's going to put $5 on it.
It has a chance. It has a chance to be a full house. I don't know about Royal Flush. It has a chance to be a full house. What I mean by that is I think the starting five is very good. I need to see what versions we're getting, what version we're getting of Bridges, and I need to see how healthy Mitch can stay for a season.
Yeah.
Those are the two reasons why I'm saying, I would bet on them. I don't know if I'd go all in, but I definitely would would bet on them a little bit just because of those two factors. Like if we get the Bridges we got last year, the inconsistent guy who seemed to play in and out of certain games, and sometimes he was fully engaged and other times he was just timid, especially offensively. If we get that version, then no, this team, I don't think they have enough. I think they're limited. I think that they have a ceiling. If Mitch is healthy all year, we know what that does to the defense. Him on the court and off the court defensively is night and day. We've said that since he started to become that player. He's a huge difference maker on defense. So, that's a big deal. But as I said, we know he has a very sketchy health history. So we need to make sure those two things happen. So like I said, I don't think it's a completely winning hand. Like the Royal Flush, like you said, beat everyone. But I do think a full house would beat most hands. So I think that's what I think we have right now until I see more.
He didn't mention OG.
I didn't mention OG because
I thought that would be the first person you would mention.
I thought so too.
My only problem with him ever was the contract. I still don't think he deserves that money, but he got it. So what can I do? Like I can't.
That's what we're supposed to go rob him at the casino.
Joakim Noah didn't deserve that money.
Well, hold on. OG deserved some money. Noah didn't deserve any of the money. There's a difference between those two guys. Like that's not a fair comparison. I wouldn't have paid him that much, and I don't honestly think anyone else would have. So I would have waited.
Sixers would have.
I don't know.
They're
I
good
just
for
don't
it.
know.
Sixers
I
are
don't know.
good for it.
But
The Sixers would have got him over Paul George. They would have signed him.
we'll see.
Let him play point
I mean,
guard.
we won't see. I don't think that would happen. I think Embiid wanted Paul George, and that's why they got Paul George. That's what I think. But no, he always gives effort. I never have a problem with his effort or anything like that. It's to me, it's just a money thing. I don't think he's worth that kind of a contract for what he brings to the table. He did improve last year, but to Ty's point, many times he was like, "You shouldn't be running your offense through OG Anunoby." So like, there are certain things about him, and again, that was the coach, and hopefully that changes this year. But yeah, I don't have a problem with him effort wise and what he brings. I think what he brings is excellent. It's always just been a contract thing for me.
So
And the falling down.
So you would head up the Ocean's 11 team to kind of halfway rob OG. You guys had too much money.
Yeah. We should pay him on a contingency. There we go. And then if he reaches, then give him the money.
Incentivize.
There we go. Yes.
You did better. I didn't know he was going to get the full house here. I'm gonna pose another question to you both. Now, we don't have a royal flush. You probably both will say we're probably more like a full house. Joe, are you in agreement with that? You think we're more full house than royal flush?
I would say a good draw and a full house. I'm not talking about jacks and sevens. I'm talking about,
Right.
kings and tens.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to pose this question back to you guys. Is there anybody in the league that has a royal flush? That's not a Knicks team. It's not the Knicks, I should say. Non-Knicks team that has a royal flush.
That has a healthy team.
You can say, we're going to say that they're all healthy. Well, not healthy. I mean, we're saying going into this season, two guys are clearly out that's big in the East, in Halliburton and Tatum. Right. So we're just saying basically what we see the landscape as is this team, the teams coming in as healthy as they are, as is. No projection because those two guys, even if they came back, it's going to be on the latter end possibly. I don't think Halliburton's come back at all. Tatum is, trying to, reinvent himself like the Bionic Man. But we're saying as a full-fledged team, we have our OKC, we have Denver, we have Houston. We have a few teams that are thought to be contenders. Is there a royal flush out there that you would be worried about putting your full house up against?
You got to go with the defending champs on that until further notice.
So you feel like you feel like they're starting five, or you just saying collectively as a team they have the royal flush?
That's the funny thing, but
I would have said Houston possibly if before the Van Vliet injury.
I don't know. It's hard to say because there are some weaknesses on that OKC team.
There is.
The entire starting five. I'm not thinking of a starting five that I like more than ours. I think I feel pretty comfortable with that actually.
I'm
with us has been the bench, but I'm a lot more optimistic to what Mikal Bridges is going to be this season than Eric. I think that this is going to be a return to form with him this year. I'm rolling the dice on that when I'm saying that. Mikal has the season I think he's going to have.
I'm going to agree with that. I think that when I look at our starting five as a unit, like when you got to find the weaknesses, obviously the two weakest things on the court are Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns defensively. But when you're like looking on the other end of the court, obviously they got some great dynamics there with the offense. Could our wings and Mitchell Robinson be enough to hide those two weaker defenders? Probably yes. So I think it's about cohesion more so. Does it work together in unison? Can you find a good ebb and flow between all five guys is the question. Like Eric said, we're not running offense through OG. I'm not sure. So we're now saying, can that five be basically that's how the Knicks are going to win. If they win it all, it's going to be with those starting five, kind of setting the table at a high level, maybe offensively and defensively, and then adding in the players during rotation. So I like our starting five. I don't know if it's a royal flush either. Probably more of a full house because health is a question mark for me, more so than Bridges. I'm worried less about Bridges, but more about whether or not Mitch can be that guy that stays healthy for an extended amount, which he's not proved ever to do. So
he's crucial.
Yeah, so it's like if we're relying heavily on him, and I will say this, looking at the game the other night, although it was second string, I guess you want to say, players, Washington is a second string team as far as I'm concerned. They're not like great at anything. There are a bunch of rookies, a bunch of missing oddity toys or whatever in the basket.
We would hope not. We got that pick.
Yeah, well, I hope that they play better, but they lost against Toronto on a backdoor, which I thought was kind of crazy. But when looking at that team, you could tell that they needed a big body in the middle, even with the second unit. They were suffering from height deprivation because you needed a 7-footer somewhere in that lineup in order to make things work also. So Mitch is extremely vital, I think, to making this a royal flush compared to just being a full house. And then if he's not available, what does he become? What does that starting lineup become? Who are you plugging in? And is that to the detriment of the core of that team as far as the starters? So it's a few question marks there, but full house, you have royal flush, still to be determined. Depends on how Mitch lasts.
One thing about Mitch that I've been hearing is that he switched a lot of things up. Running hills to improve endurance, eating organic, changing his diet, which anybody from Louisiana probably needs to change their diet. So that's a good thing.
Beignet country?
Hopefully that'll translate, man.
Hello, Zion. He's not from Louisiana, but that's where he plays.
Oh, he's from there now. He's got reservations in every restaurant on whatever street it is.
He looks fantastic, though, again.
He's reading a menu in that place, in any restaurant in that state. Mississippi, too.
Your blood's going to be gravy by the time you leave out of the South in those places. Sure. It's crazy. All right, so we determined that we feel like we're competitive with mostly every team. I mean, that's really what it is. We're not maybe better than any other starting five, but there may not be another starting five that's that much better than us. I think that's the conclusion we're drawing.
I think we're really well rounded.
Yeah, I do. I like our team as a collection overall, pretty much, and definitely the starting five. So I'm gonna go moving on. Going through the casino a little bit more here, and we're going to 3 of a kind. 3 of a kind. That's a good amount of cards. Win a little something with 3 of a kind.
They can, yes.
And I'm looking at the 3 of a kind basically from a bench perspective. I feel like these are the 3 guys who you're going to rely on the most coming off the bench and are extremely important to Knicks' success. That's Deuce McBride, clearly, Yabusele, and Ariel Haporti. I think these 3 guys are going to be the key to whatever makes the Knicks special this season. Deuce, very important. We see what kind of defense he can bring. We see the catch and shoot ability he brings. He's probably going to also be the backup point guard. We'll get into that a little bit more. But he's going to be the first guard probably off the bench that's going to be orchestrating some part of the offense. We love his toughness. I don't think there's much we can complain about with Deuce other than his height. We wish that he was taller, clearly is that. And we're moving on to Yabusele, the new acquisition, who, was the Knicks' big acquisition. When you think about it in the offseason, he was the get. He was the guy that people said, wow, when he comes in, he's going to be a huge thing for the Knicks. He brings a certain level of toughness. He's living off the LeBron dunk, clearly. He is a great 3-point shooter. As of last season, he was. So he has some intangibles to his game. And then we got Ariel Haporti, the second-year player, who I've always liked. I think that he's a key factor. I think he's big in this whole lineup when you think about Mitch's health. Hopefully the organic and the non-Louisiana diet is working for Mitch, and he's going to be around for a minute. However, Haporti becomes very important to this team. He is the one true, in my opinion, backup 5. Period. I don't see another one on this squad that I would rely on that much. I just think he's vital. He brings the right tenacity and the right energy, the right grit, grind, everything. And even Mike Brown has praised Huck Porty as being the one guy who knows where he's supposed to be all the time. He runs to his spot. He's very Mike lauds him as being one of the better players on the team, especially off the bench. My question to you guys is, when you think about if this is your three of a kind, because you're taking out the five guys that obviously they have to be subbed out, how sure are you about putting this hand down as far as a winning hand for bench depth? Because that's one of the things that we talked about the most last season. The Knicks didn't have any scoring ability or guys that were competent coming off the bench. Now you have these three guys. I'm going to throw it to Eric first. What do you think about these three guys as a unit?
I think Deuce obviously he's the guy who played big minutes last year, the last couple of years. He's a guy who's already a cog in the rotation. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot's going to be expected of him this year. I think they're expecting him to grow or take another step in his development. Maybe be a little bit more of a point guard, a traditional point guard, trying to set people up. That's a part of his game that is probably the thing I'd say he's lacking the most. So if they want him to play that position, again, he's the guy I know on the team of the three that I know fits in the chemistry, knows the players. He's good. Yabusele is an interesting one for me. He's excellent. Yes, everything you said about him. He's a little big to me, but he plays well within his size, right? Yeah, he plays within his size. He reminds me a little bit of Boris Diaw when Boris Diaw played. Little bit of that kind of a guy.
Big Boris, a little Boris.
Boris, a hell of a
big Boris. There's a scale now.
I know.
Boris had skills.
Which side is he on?
Later career Boris. A little career version.
Oh, yeah, but go on, Eric. I'm sorry.
But I mean, you're right. Everything he brings is stuff that the current NBA needs, and the Knicks needed. They need somebody on the team when Brunson and Towns aren't on the floor, and even Bridges to a lesser extent, who can actually do something and score. I feel like he has that in his game. Like you said, good 3-point shooter. So he's my most intriguing of the three you mentioned. I don't know exactly what he's going to be on this team. I know what he was in Philly. So he's my most intriguing one. Porty's the guy that really needs to take that next step. He's the guy that really needs to take it to the next level, because I do think we're still going to see a lot of Towns at center at certain points. So as far as him being a true backup, I don't know how much I believe that yet, but I do believe that towards the middle of the season, when like maybe January, February, we better start seeing that happen to preserve guys like Towns and Mitch and, so they don't get beat up. We better start seeing that happen. But you're right. Everything that you said about him with his grit, his tenacity, he's a good athlete. He can finish. He finish on lobs, obviously good in all that. Good shot blocker. We've seen that a lot thus far in the limited minutes that we've seen. So I do think that these three will be important. I am surprised you didn't mention Josh Hart as part of these.
I'm going
to see where you go. I'm going to see where you're going with this.
Coming. Don't go rushing and rolling out the dice yet, Eric. Hold the dice a little longer.
All right, so I'll keep my future bets.
Just hold the dice a little bit. Well, okay, so we hear you. We hear you. So, Joe, are you you going into that little piggy bank? You gonna put down a little money on these three? These three? You gonna? What's going on, Joe? What do you think?
It's an improved bench from last year. There's no doubt. And hopefully they're in a climate where we're actively using our bench, which seems to be the case. That's what the messaging has been. That's what we're hearing and everything like that. I think that was mandatory for Brown to get that job. That was the one thing they needed to hear in the interview, and that was over. And thank you. And here's a bag of peanuts from, roasted peanuts from, 33rd and 7th, and send him on his way. What do I think about this crew? Deuce McBride we've all come to value him. We all admire the way he plays, his boundless energy, never seems to get tired, always brings it, hits big shots, plays D, all of that. My question with him is was going to be, is he going to be here at the end of the season? Because they are not going to be able to re-sign him with their current salary structure, which is why I felt, I'm sure we're going to talk about this later, but that's why I was kind of hoping somebody else was going to stay on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yabusele, again, he's got a nice broad skill set of things that he can do, and he fills a void in this roster that Eric had particularly brought up a bunch of times last year. We don't really have a dependable backup for. And he can stroke it. He's exciting. The Garden's going to love him. I think we haven't got a chance really to see him in a Knick uniform in any meaningful ways so far. I think he's going to bring a lot of excitement. I think he's going to have a lot of big plays. I think the fans are going to love him. So I'm really interested to see what he brings here. Hukporti, I have a bunch of like weird theories and kind of like conspiracy kind of stuff in my head. I got a head full of strange ideas. One of the strange ideas I have is the old man, young body syndrome.
Oh,
kind of. Greg Oden looked like he was 50 years old when he was drafted. And we just saw his body break down. Hukporti looks like he's 40-something already. You look at his face, he looks like an old man. He's already got the meniscus thing going on. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I'm not right about this. But, there's a lot of things we liked about him. Watching him play, he's active. He's engaged. There's a lot to like about him. And there's definitely a need at the backup center position. If we're talking about Towns really being a 4, Mitch played 28 minutes a game. So, your primary backup center might be Hukporti in certain situations. I like what I've seen from him. I know you guys are really down on him, but I'm surprised he didn't add Clarkson in this because I think he's going to be significant too.
Joe, stop rolling the dice too. What is wrong with both of you?
I don't know, man. You're talking about the bench here, man.
We're on a slot machine yet. We're not on a slot machine yet. We're still dealing cards. This is what we do. We're dealing cards.
If you're going to confidently bet, you need the information. So that's what I got on this, though.
So are you saying Hukporti is like El Duque? Is this what we're trying to say here? You're trying to say, are you insinuating
that whole thing was rotten? I think they gave a birth certificate drawn in crayon.
Yeah, are you saying it's erasable ink on that? Are you saying that they ain't quite?
He might really be that age. Greg Oden was that age, though. But again, Greg Oden looked like an old man coming out of high school, probably. Hukporti looks like an old man. Hopefully his body doesn't break down like an old man.
Well, I call him the Rikers Island center because that's what he always reminds me of, the guys who were playing on the yard pretty much. He's got definitely an older person's look, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I have a few things about this 3 of a kind. Deuce, I know Eric brought up this one thing, and I'm questioning the same thing. Does he have another level? I know that's one thing I wanted to throw back at Eric. You said about another level. Do you feel like he has another level?
I do feel there's a little bit more to his dribble drive game. We've seen flashes of it where he's been able to break someone down and get to the basket. Mm-hmm. I do think there's another. I don't think he always plays to his athleticism. I feel like he's a better athlete than he plays, and I feel like that's another thing. He might not be comfortable using it as an offensive player, so that's something you can learn to do. You learn certain moves that emphasize your athleticism. And I think there is levels for him to get there. Again, his dribble isn't the greatest. That's the one area I'd say. So if he worked on that part of his game, I think it could open up other parts to his game. But I do think there is another level. That's why I said it. Now, will he get there? I don't know. I have no idea.
Gotcha. I just wanted to touch on my take on the Yabusele thing. I've been watching him in a few games now. Definitely, he's not comfortable yet. in a Knick uniform and in whatever system. I think Mike Brown has his work kind of cut out for him because it's not been seamless. He's kind of coming in and trying to blend in. And, he's definitely not as aggressive as I would think he is, but I think it's also relying on him having someone to get him those open opportunities from the arc. He's not going to beat you off the dribble anytime this year. He plays within basically the flow of a team, and hopefully within that. I mean, if he worked out in Philly with some kind of flow going on in Philly, I guess. But however, he found himself open quite a few times or was able to take that shot. I don't think he's been hitting the three that much. I mean, this preseason, we know rhythm will happen during the season, whatever. Eric brought up the Boris Diaw, Boris and Natasha, I guess. Boris Diaw. I was a little concerned about his weight. That was one of the things when I looked at him. I'm like, you know what? You might have had a couple of cheesesteaks. He was at his Nibbles, Philly, Federal Donuts. You might have been hanging out with Zion in New Orleans. I don't know. The dude's a little thick. He's a thicky. And I'm watching him like, because he did that. He ran a fast break, and McCall lobbed it to him. I'm like, well, damn. He might not get hard and I get up. So I'm like, I might have caught that damn thing because it was just not good. I'm like, and you were coming to Mike Brown's system? Because Mike gave the memo. Really, Jalen got the memo. Carly Towns got the memo. All these people got the memo about being in shape and condition because we're going to do a lot of running. I think the memo got lost in France. I don't know. Maybe stuck to a beignet. I'm just a little concerned. And now maybe he was maybe Craig, if he's out there, maybe he can chime in because I know he's in the Philly area. Was he always this big? I don't know. But he looks like he's got some girth. I'm not trying to do Sir Mix-a-Lot here, but you cannot deny. That's what I'm going to tell you. Not that I wanted to look at it, but you cannot deny.
I do remember watching him in Philly thinking the same thing. So this has always been something.
This has been his thing?
He's been, yeah. Now, like you said, on that fast break, even I watched him like, oh, he's not dunking that. Like, he ain't getting that thing. I mean, it's, some guys can play like that. Some guys can just play at that weight, and maybe that's what gives him his base.
Mm-hmm.
Like the base to stand strong in the post or defend.
Mm-hmm.
Case maybe that's what gives him that, and losing that will diminish his effectiveness.
It is true. Some players, they lose their girth or what makes them special. I mean, Jalen's one of those dudes. He's a little girthy too. The Rick Mahorns of the world. NBA players, you don't believe it, but they got some cabooses. They do. And, he just might got the whole LIRR on the back of his, but he's got some pulling in the Mineola, he's definitely got some extension on his train with the smoke and everything. I was just a little shocked. I was a little taken back by his weight because, I see basketball players as being skinny guys. Yeah, there's those ones that are kind of girthy, you get the Oakleys and all that stuff. But usually, he's a little bottom heavy, reminiscent of Boris Diaw, who was obviously eating a lot as well. I don't know.
Lots of croissant.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the way I viewed him. Those are my quirks about all the guys. Deuce definitely needs to work on his dribble. I think that I'm shocked he has not worked on it, being the kind of person that he is on the offseason. He's definitely lit to go shoot. He's definitely worked on his shooting mechanics. His shot is excellent. His defense is good, but the dribbling, I thought it would have been a little bit more improved over the years, being that he is a hard worker. But, you're told to work on certain things, so it is what it is. Yep. All right, so we're going to move on because, the dice were rolling. They were rolling. So this guy, I didn't think that you could appropriately put him in three of a kind because this is apropos what it is, what I'm going to put up here. It's about the big joker. He's a joker. If there's a joker in your deck of 52, Josh Hart's the joker. One, because he's humorous, but even more so, he's just a wow factor on the team. Yeah. The question mark that we all have to ask ourselves is if I said that those three guys, I think, play some of the most important role, as far as the bench depth because they are technically going to back up key positions.
Yeah.
Josh Hart backs up everything. We know he's a utility knife or whatever. He's all over the place. We worry about his injured finger. Obviously, we know the back issue. Obviously, that's going to be something that people should be more concerned about than the finger because back issues are what they are.
Yeah.
You can never judge how that's going to go in a season. One bad sneeze and he could be out. That's literally how back problems can go. When thinking about this, Josh Hart, I always feel like is an important part of this team, in spite of being a guy who probably doesn't have a defined role. I just think what he brings to the table. I defended him on the last show about I'm a Josh Hart fan. Obviously, he's left everything out on the court. Probably why he looks the way he is and why he's injured because he left every damn thing on the court every year. And having Thibodeau, Thibodeau salivated like a dog with a bone when having Josh Hart because he was willing to run through every friggin' wall he can find for that coach, especially a coach that believes so much in him that he fought his team to draft him in Minnesota. So it's kind of hard not to have love probably for Thibodeau if you're Josh Hart. Willing to do anything for the team and as well for that coach. Even defended the fact that he was being overly used. He defended that last year. So what minute police? Probably regrets saying that because the minute police actually arrested him. He's been incarcerated by the minute police now because he's just a broken toy right now that Tom Thibodeau, much like Derrick Rose, he tried to kill Josh Hart too. It's literally what has happened with this coach. But needless to say, we got to digress. Moving forward, Josh Hart, I think, has one of the more important roles, being one, friends to Jalen Brunson. Two, I think he's the heart of this team, no pun intended on it. I think he is. He brings a certain tenacity. He's obviously, in my opinion, he's the best rebounder on this team, and no offense to Mitch, but Mitch is just not healthy enough to say he's the definitive best rebounder on the team. Josh Hart is just a dog. I mean, when we talk about a dog, or maybe he's a wolf like, what's his name said it? Jerry West said, I hate dogs. I'm a wolf. He may be the wolf in New York when you think about Josh Hart. Ever since he arrived in New York, they've won. He's been a big part of what they've done, from day one. Obviously, people are a little bit upset. His shooting is coming into question. I never thought he was a sniper to begin with. I don't know why people thought he was going to suddenly become one. He's just an all-around guy that is the glue guy, the typical glue guy, who probably plays with more fire than any Knick we've seen probably since Patrick Ewing, I guess. And for when you think about what he brings, the tenacity and the nastiness to the game, he left it all on the court. Ewing left the puddle. Josh Hart leaves his bone and bruises on the floor. How important do you guys feel that Josh is going to be? Well, one, how concerned and how important? How concerned are you about his health? And how important is he to the Knicks? Even though we've made these other acquisitions and those three guys I mentioned before, for me, Josh is a big part of what the Knicks need in order to win. How do you guys feel about him, what I call the big joker? Who wants to take it? I don't care. Sean?
Well, I've probably been the hardest on him here, I would say. I do agree with everything you say. Like, he's the heart of the team, the way he plays. It's very endearing to the fan base, right? We always love a guy who's a lunch pail type player. So all of that stuff is true. However, he's also 30 years old, and the way he plays, to your point, Ty, looks like it's catching up to him. So at what point do you have to say as a franchise, I don't know what we're gonna get from him in the future?
Yeah.
So I don't think he's. Let me say this now. He's going to be here this year, so I'm not saying they're going to move him. They're going to keep him. He's going to be part of this team, and I do think, for the reasons you stated, he's very important. Like when you're having that dull moment in the game when the starters can't do stuff, he's the one-man fast break. He rebounds and takes it down the court. Yeah. That's something he does. That's an element of his game that benefits the team. So I think in a lot of respects, I like now, yes, that he's back on the bench. I think that is where he's best suited. And I think that's where he'll have the most benefit. Do I think he's going to play big minutes in some games down the stretch? Sure. He's done it already here. I think he's going to play some big minutes if the situation calls for it, if they need someone like him. But he's, like you said, that's a perfect way to call it, Joker, wild card, whatever you want to say, because he can do so many things. And we don't have another guy on his team who really can do all of that and play at that level. That constant Energizer Bunny, keep going and going level. Like, that's something that he has, and he needs to have it, because if he didn't, he wouldn't be an NBA player. He doesn't have a great dribble. He's not a great shooter. He doesn't have offensive moves. His whole game is hustle. And I mean, it's great, and I love him for it. But again, I try and think of things in not just short term. I try and think of things long term. And at what point does his style of play, the diminishing returns, right, on the investment? You keep saying, at what point, okay, do we have to make a decision and say we need to get what we can for him and move on? So that's where I'm at with him. But I do agree with you. He is the wild card on this team.
Right. Okay. So Joe, what are your thoughts? Josh Hart.
It's kind of similar to Eric, but a little bit different. I mean, you love the player. You love what he brings to the table. Josh Hart meant so much more to a Tom Thibodeau team than he will in any other situation ever.
Big time.
He had higher value to that coach and that system and that culture than he would anywhere else. I think they need to sit him down and get him healthy and incorporate the rest of the bench. We really don't need him in the beginning. And I'll tell you, in the beginning, it's going to get off to a slow start as they acclimate. Don't expect us coming out gangbusters. And they need to get him right. I'm looking at the future, and that's why I was kind of tapping my head a little bit while Eric was talking. Our cap situation is our cap situation. And you're looking at two valuable players coming up to unrestricted free agency in Deuce McBride and Mitch, particularly if Mitch can stay healthy. If you're going to keep one, maybe only one of them, hopefully two, it's going to cost you Josh Hart.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It's going to cost you Josh Hart. And I'm talking Josh Hart for like draft capital, where you're doing it simply to open up cap space. I could see Josh Hart succeeding in a fast-paced, up-tempo type of thing that they're talking about. I could see him excelling in that, creating chaos and all of those things. And, before the second apron stuff, we would have just kept everybody and dealt with it.
Yeah.
Have Dolan deal with the luxury tax. That was the one thing I always said about Dolan. He'll pay the tax. If we got a good team on it, he'll pay the tax. The only other option you have is just blow up the second apron and kiss your draft capital goodbye. It's hard to think of saying goodbye to somebody like that. And I don't think it would happen this season. I think it's something that would happen as they were revving up to free agency.
Yeah.
But it's something in the new realities that they have to consider. Josh Hart is a perfect Knick. He's somebody you would want to see retire as a Knick. There's going to be a lot of hard decisions coming up.
Big time. Well,
I'm props to Josh Hart. He's a guy
to love. I think he got a little bit of a bad rap for being a guy who probably is too team oriented when it comes to his offense. He's going to pass up what he knows he's not a shooter, so he's going to pass it to the shooters. He's more of a quick decision maker. He's got to sit there and think about the shot. He's not going to make it. If you pass him like a hot potato in 2 seconds, he's probably nailing every shot you throw to him. So
is that finger on his shooting hand too?
I think it's his non-shooting hand. I think it's his left. I think it's his left. So that's his guide hand. So that doesn't matter. He's not Steph Curry anyway. But he's just more of like I said, he's the heart of the team. No pun intended. The right name for the right kind of player. So it's hard. But I do believe we're not much like you guys. I don't think we're at that point. So. Josh, get healthy. We definitely could use you. We could use that energy and definitely those rebounds and those just those moments that you've always brought, but it does require you to sit your ass down a little bit right now and rest up and get healthy, because we need playoff Josh more than we need regular season Josh. That's the way I kind of look at this whole thing. Same thing with Mitch. You just want to get them to the postseason where they're relatively whole as much as they can be, and then let the dice roll from there. So, okay, so we're going to move on to this next person, because see, y'all rolled the dice before a little too early. You know what? We're going to call him your little joker. He ain't a big joker. He's a little joker. Jordan Clarkson.
If ever there was an Eric type of player, it's got to be Jordan Clarkson.
Oh, it definitely is. And I was going to.
You should go out and get the Jordan Clarkson jersey right now.
I'm going to get him one.
It's got to be your favorite player.
I laugh because every time I watch Jordan Clarkson play, I think of Eric. I'm going to tell you why. Eric was the person. Eric was the person like Joe and I, for everyone to know. We're like wait and see. We don't know him enough to even talk about him. Literally. Meanwhile, Eric's sitting back there. He took OG's picture off the wall.
My dartboard?
Clarkson's darting up there. Jordan's got pokes, and people think it's like he got pimples. It's really Eric throwing darts, and Jordan Clarkson's poster. I was like, I don't want him here. I don't think he's a need for here. Blah, blah, blah. Listen, I've watched Jordan Clarkson, and anybody knows me, I'm more Larry Brown about everything. It's like there's a way of doing stuff. You know, I'm that's just my personality, probably in general, but even more so, it's like everything has a purpose and a role. You follow a little bit of the criteria, and it needs to get done. That is, however, when watching Jordan Clarkson, I think people said Emmanuel Quickly was the comparison. I think most people were thinking he's going to be the Quickly role. And anybody knows me, Quickly used to drive me crazy. I wasn't a fan of his game, just wasn't. I didn't like that herky-jerky, trying to draw fouls, whatever. Jordan Clarkson's like, oh, Ty, let me tell you one thing. You hold your beer a little bit longer. You didn't like Quickly? Oh, I'm going to quickly make you change your mind about Quickly. Because watching Jordan Clarkson, I'm like, wow. Dude has been on a bad team for a long time. You know, they haven't been winning anything. Well, I shouldn't say a long time, because during the time of Donovan Mitchell being in Utah, they were very successful. So he hasn't been always in a losing situation. What has happened once Utah blew up, he became the probably focal point. You know, are you going to pass to what's the young point guard name that they have out there that comes off the bench? Craig's boy. He used to play for Alabama.
Oh,
Sexton.
Sexton. You know, he probably was like, I'm not passing it to him. So, you know, who could he pass to other than himself? Literally. I mean, the guy probably became a one-person offense, putting up numbers on a bad team, probably had a green light. The Utah fans seemingly love him. Don't get me wrong. He seemed like he's a good kid. Nothing to say bad about him, but his basketball IQ, wow. That might be in the -0 at this point, because shot selection, temperament, mentality, all things that you worry about. Now, he's had some good moments, decent moments. I want to say good, decent moments. He's had a couple passes in the lane that I've said, oh, well, that's kind of nice. He did good. But then it's those herky-jerky throw-up shots that is like, dude, what the hell are you doing throwing UFOs up in New York? That makes no damn sense to me. I call him a little joker because I don't know. Before I had to edit, I had a little joke with the R on it. And I'm like, is he? That would have went not so well. And I was like, he's a little joke. I'm questioning, much like Eric, and I'm going to give him the floor before Joe, because he would be the one to really take this home. I didn't know much about Jordan Clarkson. I knew his history. I think he's won 6 Man of the Year. Am I correct?
Yes.
You know, there's things I know about him, but Utah plays out in the West Coast, and who the hell's watching Utah games? Nobody really watches Utah games. But I had no idea what kind of game or what he can bring to the table. I'm not pleasantly surprised. I'm a little bit worried, because we were talking about bringing someone in because the bench had a problem scoring. That's why he was brought in, that he's going to be the guy that you're going to put the ball in his hands and say, hey, while Brunson's resting, get us some buckets. I think that bucket might have a hole in it, and I'm going to give it to Eric.
Oh man. So I do eventually probably have to talk about him because for most people, he was the big offseason move. Not Yabusele, it was Clarkson. Like, oh, we're adding this Jordan Clarkson. He's free. He wants to come here. They bought him out. Oh, great. There's a reason why teams buy players out. It's not always for money reasons, right? I mean, just this one stat. He has played 17 minutes in the preseason, 17 minutes a game. He's taking 9 shots. Only Brunson has taken more shots than him on the team. And I mean, I think in a vacuum, what he brings, yes, you definitely like someone like him on your team. He can be instant offense. He can come in, go off, hit 6, 7 shots in a row, and make you feel like, oh, he's the best player you've ever seen. But that's few and far between. Most of the time, he takes, as you said, Ty, takes bad shots, extremely low basketball IQ. He's a gunner, 100% gunner. He does not look to pass. He feels when he comes in the game, all he needs to do is score points. That's what he's supposed to do. And it's fine if that's, the type player you want. But on this team, I don't know. Like, and he doesn't bring anything else. No defense. He's not a defensive player. What else does he do if he's not hitting shots? This is not Allen Iverson like gunning. Like, the certain guys who did it, Kobe took a lot of shots, but they were great players. So you didn't care when they took a lot of shots because their shots were usually better than the other guy's shots that were going to be taken. But this dude, man, when I watch him play now, I just go like this. I just put my head like, oh God, here we go. It's an adventure. It is an adventure watching him play. And there are so many other guys on this team that I feel should get those minutes. Give Daddy A the minutes. I don't care what people think. Guys know how I feel about Kolek. Give Kolek those minutes. Like, you have enough structure around the team that you don't need someone like Jordan Clarkson. You can plug and play these guys. We talk about how great the starting 5 is. Play OG longer to do some offense. Play Bridges longer to have some offensive touches when the starters aren't on the court. Mix them around. But there are ways you can work around what the bench doesn't have. This guy is not one of those ways. I am not a fan. There was a time I was a fan years ago, but he's not the same player either. He has gotten worse. I'm out. If I saw tomorrow that they cut him, I'd be like, woohoo! I'd throw a party. I'd sign up for Uber tomorrow, drive there, pick him up, drive him to the airport. I do not want him on this team. And I know he's going to be, but I don't. You should have kept it as joke because that was the better banner. Little joke.
I will leave a confession after Joe goes. But go on, Joe. We're going to move on for you.
I'm all right with it.
You all right with
I'm all right with it, and I'll explain.
Okay.
He's not a part of the rotation, man. You talk about the 3 guys you already had there. Add Hart into that. You're 9 deep. Right? Got nothing to do with him. 9 deep. One of the problems that you have with that bench is scoring. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the dude you throw in to shake things up when you're not scoring off the bench. You don't have to rely on him because you can go 9 deep without him. If everyone's healthy. If everyone's healthy. Now, they're not going to be playing Thibodeau minutes, but the starters are going to play heavy minutes, and you got 4 people that should be ahead of him easily in that lineup. You're paying him nothing, league minimum. Have him go in when your offense stalls on the bench and see if he can give you something. And unlike Thibodeau with campaign, pull him when you realize he ain't got it. Because players like that, you could tell pretty quick when they're on and when they're not.
That's facts.
So I'm okay with it. I think what he could bring you would be hard-pressed to find another person on a vet minimum that would at least bring something equivalent. That's just my take.
My confession is I was with Eric. They were talking about trading people. I was like, can we trade Clarkson? I was looking at it, I was like, yay. I'm like, Kolek. I find reasons to keep him. I'm like, can we trade him? But I was like, he was a free agent signing because he drives me mad. And Joe is correct in a lot of ways in the sense he will not be the biggest part of the rotation. I think if Thibodeau was here and he had signed, he'd be giving him, he would eat all the minutes of the bench. Whereas Mike Brown, I think, does have the awareness to say, dude, you're not hitting any of the shots. You're just out there collecting dust on the floor. If he was doing more, I always tell you guys, the one thing I like about basketball players, what are you doing without the ball? That to me is a very important skill. What are you doing without the ball? What can you contribute to the team when you're not in a scoring position? And that's when I look at him. I'm like, well, what else are you going to do? He is a capable passer, but I was
want to.
He's wild. Well, he said, I'm going to let that thing fly. That ain't what he said. They know me. I let it fly. I was like, well, damn, you need a fly swatter and a sticky fly catcher because you need to not let nothing fly. You have to play within some sort of reason because you are not here to be Karl-Anthony Towns or Jalen Brunson. You're here to give scoring off the bench, but you're not here to be those dudes because you're calling your number like you're that dude, and you're not that dude. You're maybe the dude sitting next to the dude because I'd take Deuce McBride coming into the game before him because there's a control element of saying, well, we're going to do something that makes a little sense or more structured. I think you bring in those kind of guys when you don't have an offense at all. Like your bench is very bare. Like it has been a little bit in the past seasons, obviously, but that's just my take with him. He does drive me a little bit. So we'll see. I thought it was funny that I knew Eric.
He's a career 34% 3-point shooter.
So that when I hear that kind of stuff,
like,
yeah, all right.
What so, I don't know. I didn't like it when they did it.
Yeah, you were always on it. You never liked it. You always said you didn't like it. That's why I thought it was very funny. I'm like, this is right up your alley with that one. So let's move on to this subject. We're going to try to land this plane quick. I call this, anybody not from New York or from some metro area where there's a hustle and flow, 3-card Monty. You've been out on the street and had your money. You're like, oh, I think I can know the bet. I know where the card is. And you're sitting there and you drop down 20, bam! And next thing you know, rabbit is. You ain't got no money in your damn pocket. Because they didn't hustle the hell out of you. So everybody don't know that's when you take the cards and move it around and you try to guess and you walk away broke. So stay away from 3-card Monty. But however, our 3-card Monty, how I put it together tonight, has somewhat changed because I'm like, well, what card are we going to use for the remaining of the bench? That's what my concept about the 3-card Monty. We had Brogdon, we had Shamit, we have what's his name, Gary Bird, as they call him, Gary Matthews.
Matthews, yeah.
And a few other miscellaneous players. But we got news before tonight, before we came on the show, that Malcolm Brogdon is no longer part of the Monty. He has actually decided to retire, according to the little woodpecker-looking dude. And he's basically called it quits. I think most people might have thought he had called it quit on the floor because he's never really looked like the guy I think people wanted. I think people wanted the guy from Boston who was 6th Man of the Year candidate. And this has been a guy on the downhill, obviously health-wise or whatever, physically, he's never looked the same since Boston. Probably a lot of reasons why they got rid of him. Now you bring him to the Knicks, you hope that he could be that other orchestrator of the offense, which should make people scared because that means Jordan Clarkson's going to be the other shot creator, but that's another story. So now we're moving forward. We are at a standstill. The 3 cards that we thought we had, Brogdon's gone. Does that mean now that the young guys stay around? We've had the question mark was who's the third person that's going to be here? Is that Pacome Dadier? Is that Tyler Kolek? Now we have Brogdon out of the mix, so now we're down to Shamit, who I'm a fan of. I like Shamit. Like I said, Gary Bird, Gary Matthews. And now you have one of the neophytes, as Clyde would call it, in Kolick, who's played a lot better. I like how he's been playing recently. I'm a fan of Kolick. Don't ever think I'm not. It's just, they're not going to be a fan of him if he doesn't show what he's capable of doing on the offensive end. How comfortable are you guys now knowing that now there's no more playmaker in Brogdon? Somebody who I think the Knicks seemingly were after and they wanted to provide the thing that some relief from Jalen Brunson. Now we're down to Kolick. Kolick's the only guy that can really come into the game right now and kind of dispel Brunson from a point guard perspective and get everybody involved. Do you think the Knicks make another move? Or do you think that we are going to roll with Gary Bird and Shamit and keep the neophytes?
Joe, you want this one? I'll go next.
I was a little stunned by this, to tell you the truth. I was kind of hoping to have, granted, not peak, but that kind of veteran that could play either guard position, really, and probably closer to a true point guard that we had. And I was willing to sacrifice Kolick or Gasp, even Daddy, to do it, for the reason that this is our window, and I've been talking about that. And to tell you the truth, I'd rather have a vet in there. They may both have very good careers and everything like that, but they do not bring anything to the table right now that I think makes us better, personally. I think that a lot of that will depend on how the season goes and what's available. I mean, things don't really shake loose during the season. I wonder, honestly, if Brogdon really wanted to play in New York and finish his career out in New York, but they couldn't find the trade that the Knicks were willing to do for either Dadier and Kolick, because to tell you the truth, everybody knew that they were moving them. They were trying to move them. I mean, that was not a secret in the league. Maybe nothing came forward and they were like, look, we're not going to move off of that. We're not going to move any of the young guys, and that maybe made this decision for him. I don't know. It all depends on what shakes loose, whether they get traded. But if you ask me right now, I think they'll both be in the Knicks uniform this year. Dottie is the one I would rather keep. I do see absolute potential in him. I am not as impressed with Kolick as both of you. I don't think I ever have been. But, I don't think Kolick has a lot of value in what he would bring back. I don't think either one of them do. They're really unknown quantities who have really not distinguished themselves thus far in any way, shape, or form. So, we'll see. I would rather have a vet personally because I do think this is our window.
Well, this kind of ties in with what you guys were talking about last week. And I wanted to bring it up this week because
I know you did.
Yes, because it just naturally came here. Like it wasn't something we forced. It's just naturally part of the conversation. But I was fine with signing him and then watching him and see what he could do in preseason. Like I was fine with going the Brogdon route and seeing what he had left. But when I watched, I'm like, he has nothing left. So it doesn't surprise me that he retired because he's realizing I have nothing left. So I'm glad they gave him the opportunity. Like you said, he's established veteran. Guys accomplished a lot in the NBA, done a lot in the league. Give him the shot to see if he can still play and see if he fits in. The Knicks probably told him after the last game, look, we're going to cut you. So he just, instead of getting cut, he probably just decided, okay, I'm going to retire. Shamit, I think, has value, so I'm fine if he's the guy that they keep on to be the next guy off the bench. Guy we know he performed great in the playoffs. He showed up there, so he seasoned, proven guy, hits big shots. I'm good with that. That's fine. But I keep pointing again to what I was saying in the chatting messages last week. You have to look forward while you're trying to win now. You have to do that part of it. This is a young man's game. The NBA is a young player's game. You have two guys here. Well, no matter what you feel about Kolick, the Knicks thought highly of him because they gave him the highest guarantee ever for a second-round pick. So they felt high on him. Daddy has looked pretty good in the flashes we've seen. Raw, yes, but we've seen enough, to Joe's point, that he has potential and maybe he can become something. So you have to keep players like this while you're trying to win now, because you want youth, you want speed, you want athleticism, you want all the things that young players have that these older guys do not have. And I think just always looking to fill these spots with veterans takes away from that. Joe says they haven't distinguished themselves. They haven't played enough to do anything, to get any kind of evaluation on what either guy can do. I have no idea what either guy can do when they know they're getting minutes and they're not getting these minutes here and there. And like, oh crap, I have to do something to impress the coach. You play differently when you know you're not getting minutes every game. So I understand the mentality, yes, of get a veteran. This is their window. And I agree with you. This is because of the injuries with Tatum and Halliburton, the East is theirs to be taken. I 100% agree with you. If you're going to make a run, this is the time you want to do it. And if there was a better player out there that's worth sacrificing the minutes for the young guys, I'd be all for it. I'd say go ahead. But there's not. Neither of these guys are to be. You know, the funny guy, the guy on the funny thing, the guy on the team right now who I've seen, the young guy who's been the most impressive? How do you say his? Tosan? I can't even say his last name.
With Diawara, are you talking about?
No, Evu Bowman. His name.
Oh.
But I've seen him play a few times.
You talking about the guy with he has the braids.
Yeah, he's looked impressive.
Yeah,
he's looked pretty impressive in the preseason. He's someone I would say, hey, you decide to go with him? Okay. You want to bring him on? Garrison Matthews, another one. Guy can shoot. This team doesn't have shooters. He can shoot the ball. So I'm fine again with going a different route, but it's time for the Knicks to just stop doing what they've always done and try and do both. That's my point. Just try and do both. Try and win now and develop for the future.
Do you guys think we need a guy like Brogdon? Because we're talking playoffs here, because we know the regular season, whatever. How comfortable are you guys letting someone else, say, God forbid, Jalen goes down? Who do you trust?
Hart's going to be the point in my eyes at that point.
Yeah, that's the Brogdon part. Granted, Brogdon has been showing a decline when he was in Washington and also in Portland. It's not nothing new. He's fallen off. Last year they were talking about how bad his shooting had gone. So it's not like it's far-fetched that he came here and he's a little bit of a broken, down a car at this point. But my question is, I think people wanted Brogdon because they see the need for having a veteran presence when stuff gets hot in the playoffs, things get tight. Who is the person that can come in and actually, relieve some of that pressure off of Brunson and you lose nothing in the process? I think that's the key thing that we're looking at when talking about someone coming in a veteran role, so to say, or, looking at Kolick. And I'm not trying to now, I think Joe might be going. Is he going?
Yeah, said he had to drop.
So when you think about somebody like Kolick coming in and being the actual backup person, I think it's because he had no confidence given to him by Tom Thibodeau. We're now asking that he come in now and gain the confidence during the season. It makes you wonder if they're going to give him enough leash to let him make those mistakes so that by the time playoffs come, he would be ready in those pressure situations. It's a very, because to no fault of Tyler himself, they dropped the ball the year prior when drafting him and never giving him minutes. Never allowing him to grow. Same thing with Dottier. Usually when you draft a first rounder, they get minutes. They get some sort of semblance of structure, not just put them in the G League and you play your veterans 700 minutes like Thibodeau. So I can understand them now feeling with Brown that they need to address this, but their window and opportunity was last year. That's my opinion. And I'm like, now you're asking this young guy to come in and prove to you that he could be a backup to a superstar. And I think that's a lot to ask of him at this present point. I'm wondering, do you move off of him because they dropped the ball? Because that's literally what you'd have to do, because you're saying he's not good enough. We need a vet to come in here. But who are you going to bring in, Russie? That's the only vet that is left.
Not anymore. He signed in Sacramento today.
Oh, he signed? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Thank God he did, because Russie's about to get mellowed. He was to get mellowed in Iverson. And he was going to be out the league, I thought. But good for Sacramento. I mean, it's not good for them. It's a bad mix. But, thank God for him. He gets to come in and get it, have a good send-off, if anything. I like Russie. Russie's just –
I mean, let's
I like him.
Yeah, but let's keep it 100, right? If Brunson goes down, the season's pretty much it's whatever. They'll make the playoffs still. They have enough to make the playoffs, but the championship level aspirations drop.
It's not right. He's the number one. He's one, and then Towns is 1A. That's the way I look at it, and I don't think any of those other guys are in a one category. They've become 2 or 3 at best. OG's not a 1. He's not a 1. Mikal Bridges, 2. Those guys are 1s. It's Brunson, Carl. They would get away more with Carl going down than they would with Brunson going down, because Brunson has proven to take lesser talent further than having Towns. So he's never had Towns and still got into the second round. So Towns just put him over the edge to get into the conference finals. So, I mean, that's something to think about. But I do believe they need another playmaker, not for the 5. I just think coming off the bench is like what I watched the other night. I'm like, well, damn. They had no control. Nobody was – I mean, you got to play Tyler at some point for that second unit. If you're not
having a good game.
You gotta let him cook a little bit and see what he got, because, I mean, that would bring up his trade value if you do try to trade him, if he's actually playing some minutes.
The one thing he's gonna do, he's gonna look to the open man. He's gonna look to create for somebody.
Yep.
So that's the one thing he'll definitely bring the minute he steps on the court. He always has his head up, always trying to look to make the best pass and make the right play. The fear, though, is like the backup point guard is Clarkson. Like, that's the fear.
That can't happen. That's a fear factor.
I mean, when you look at the guards of the team, who else? I mean, McBride, obviously, but I mean, if you take McBride and put him at the point, then Clarkson's your main 2 guard, right? Your main 2 guard off the bench. And you have Hart at the 3, Yabusele, and then Huck Porter, whoever. Like, you can work around it and see, but neither one of those guys are shot creators. They can play for themselves, but not for others.
Well, that's my fear about not having a Brogdon type. Right. It's not because I think so much is that I'm thinking about the second unit and who is in control of the second unit. Love Deuce, he's just not a point. He's an undersized 2 guard. Capable of masking. He's kind of like Joe Dumars. Not that he's Joe Dumars, anybody, so calm down. I'm saying Joe Dumars could play point, but he was a 2 guard.
Yeah.
He was a combo guard. So when we look at a guy like him, he's not doing it. So now you're saying it's either Josh Hart, who's capable in a fast break of doing a lot of things, making those assists. But we're talking about half-court offense at some point. Do you trust Clarkson to be a decision maker for 4 other guys? Absolutely not.
One decision. That's the only decision I trust him.
Yeah.
He's going to shoot it.
Look, that gun loaded. He gonna let it go.
He's gonna let it fly. Yep.
It's like duck hunting. He's just gonna sit there. The dog might laugh at him, but he's gonna keep firing.
He's essentially a poor man's Lou Williams, right?
Yeah, very poor. Before the lemon peppers, Lou could play. He was more controlled.
No, yeah.
I don't like those gunner types. Oh, they just bug me out because
you don't do anything else. I don't mind if you're a gunner, but have another skill. Or have another good skill. Like Crawford was a scorer, Jamal Crawford, but he could also create for others.
Yep.
So those kinds of guys you like, as he could be your backup point guard because he has the game, he had a handle, he had a game, he played with his head up. So those kinds of players you don't mind, but this dude,
Yeah, I'm not. That's when losing Brogdon. That is the worry for me. That who's going to control and gain the respect to control a guy like, I mean, if Brogdon's here, Clarkson can't talk to Brogdon about, dude, give me the ball here. Tyler doesn't have the respect yet. He probably has the respect of some of the vets that's been there, but he doesn't have the respect of a new guy who probably needs to be checked. Like, I'm not going to you this time. Because Clarkson needs to be more of a finisher, probably heading towards the rim more than a catch and shoot finisher or take him off the dribble finish. Those are things that I don't want to see from him, really. Or him having the ball and then four guys are like basically five out. You're like watching him go and dribble, air out the damn ball. It's going to be ugly. Because this is the talent you're relying on. And I think if you got championship aspirations, I don't think your second ball handler could ever be Jordan Clarkson.
No.
The
good thing Pollock has in his favor is Brunson likes him.
Yeah, Brunson, big fan of Tyler.
Yep.
And Tyler over the last couple of games, I know Joe's not high on him. If we saw what I saw the last game, and I know granted people will say, oh, it's just Washington, whatever, just the aggressiveness, because if he was a lights-out shooter, which I thought he was, if he could become a lights-out shooter, his game changes dramatically. It's like once you get open and you hit that shot or you become a threat, now guys are closing out on you, and you're like, oh, the pond is open. You can fish all day. Because now if you're going to run out on me and I can pump fake you and now I get in the lane, now I'm creating for everybody. Now that defense collapses, you can't do nothing with him at that point. He becomes a very dangerous player. So him getting his shot under his feet, that would be one of the best things that could ever happen for his game and definitely for the Knicks. So we'll see about that. But, yeah, we're in troubled times a little bit with Brogdon going down. If Jordan Clarkson, if he's – but Shamit's been a point guard before in the past. He was a point guard, I think, in high school. Might have played a little bit in college. Capable.
Alec Burks.
Who's that?
So there's always Alec Burks.
Yeah, well, AB. People love AB.
Thibodeau loved him, that's for sure.
That was his fire extinguisher. I wanted to talk about one more thing because I know I'm going to let us wrap up. And I'm just going to call this Gamblers Anonymous. And it's just my little floating and going on a diatribe here. I'm watching Pablo Torres and Mark Cuban.
Yes, I've seen some of the exchange, yes.
Yeah, the exchange has been pretty entertaining. Mark basically saying, did you order the code red? You don't know what a code red was. You didn't know what a button was. You're over exaggerating. Show me your Chris Broussard sauces. Show me your sauces, because I don't think you have any sauces, basically, is how this is going back and forth.
Yes.
And Pablo is standing his ground clearly, et cetera, et cetera. I'm fine about the Steve Bond, whatever,
Ballmer. Yeah.
If you guys want to go and keep tunneling into it, which I don't, probably nothing ever comes of this. The NBA investigated Kawhi when he got caught. Well, before this even became an issue, they investigated the acquisition. The NBA should have done their homework. Which brings me back to the other homework that I'm a little ticked off about. Stop bringing New York Knicks out of your mouths. Stop talking about Jalen Brunson, a thing that obviously the league investigated. They found the Knicks guilty of certain things. They took a second rounder from them. When I hear Cuban go on there, and obviously Pablo's trying to just stay relevant, so Knicks for clicks, we know he's going to keep bringing up, the Brunson thing, Brunson. Obviously, it keeps the lights on him when you talk about the Knicks. However, what I'm a little ticked off with Mark Cuban about is that this becomes bittersweet because you're like, the Knicks should have been charged more than 1 second rounder. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but you should have been charged a third rounder for not signing Brunson when you had an opportunity.
Yep.
This is sour grapes more so than anything. You had an opportunity to let the Knicks never get this kid. You had all the opportunities. He went to you and said, give me an extension, I'll sign. He was willing to sign for what he considered to be safe money. He was like, well, I'll take the more guaranteed money. It's not a lot, but I'm good with whatever I got. See, when people look at him now having signed that extension for lesser money, he's always been that guy talking about he would take lesser money. So there's no circumvention of the cap. He said, hey, come get me. I'm willing to work on the extension. Dallas had a couple opportunities. They buffed at it. They were trying to also trade him at one point. They had no plans to keep this kid.
No, they didn't.
Knicks, coming busting through the door like they Biggie Smalls, kicked in the front door, went to the Dallas Stadium. Yeah, it was ugly cosmetics. They coming in there like gangbusters, clearly recruiting Jalen Brunson. I don't know how they have his godfather is the president of the Knicks. There's not a lot of recruiting you need to do. But needless to say, they dropped the ball.
They did.
So Mark Cuban took a gamble, and you lost. He's been noted to say on Shark Tank he's taken gambles and risks, and he's done bad at it. He's lost money on certain things. Well, guess what? Then you need to call Gamblers Anonymous. No offense to people who really got gambling issues, but you do have a gambling issue when you're bringing up things that you could have prevented in the first place by paying a guy who was wanted to stay there. He didn't want to come to New York. He wanted to stay in Dallas. He made it very clear. You guys buffed at both of the options when he gave a chance, and he just put on his headphones and says, I'm no longer talking about it. So, yeah, he probably said, what, the Knicks are out there? They need a point guard? My godfather stays there? They want me? They come in enough that they violate the rules to come get me? Hell yeah, I'm going with them. Because they got love for me in New York. And what it is before, when you look at Jalen Brunson before he even got here, people are like, well, why do the Knicks want to sign that dude? Oh, Jalen Brunson, that's an over-exaggeration. He's never going to do anything. And Jalen's like, hold my beer or hold his Gatorade, whatever the hell he drinks, and he says, let me show you I'm a star in this league. This is remorse. This is remorse that you didn't see the talent Jalen Brunson was while you had him in your locker room. And now he's become this big star over here, maybe one of the, I consider him to be top 6 players in the league. I don't think he's top 10. Excuse me, I think he's top 6. Excuse me. But needless to say, excuse me, they must be choking me from Dallas. Needless to say, when looking at that, this is buyer's remorse by Mark Cuban. Let it go. Call up your 1-800 number and let it go, and stop bringing the Knicks into the fold of something with Steve Ballmer and what he's done. And now all of a sudden we are getting a light shine on us. He's like, oh, it shouldn't have been enough. It shouldn't have been this. Let it go. You lost. Excuse me. You gambled and lost what was going on. And that's basically my diatribe about it. I don't know how you feel about it. I just want them to keep the Knicks name out of their mouths, because whatever penalty the Knicks had, they already had. They've already been, lost a second. The league found it to not be that terrible that it was only a second. Let it go. Let Jalen come over here and ball out. Knicks already paid the penalty. Move on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of there with you. Mark Cuban is, in a lot of ways, I really like Mark Cuban, and then there's a lot of ways I really don't like him.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. I mean, dude, you're winning in life. Like, so you lost a player, and you lost out on this. And even if the Knicks were coming into your building and doing something illegal, why did you let them come in?
Yeah.
Like, that's your building. Why didn't you tell them, nah, they're not allowed. We can't have them come in. Why? And I'll tell you why, because there's also a brotherhood of NBA ownership, and they stick together because guess what? Collective bargaining agreements come up, and then they're on one side and the players on the other side. Like, there's so many layers to this. Yeah. So then when I hear Cuban start saying stuff like that, bringing up the Ballmer thing, and then making the comparison to what happened with Brunson, first of all, I don't see how it's even close to the same thing, but
yeah.
But I mean, dude, like you said, he came to you. He would have signed for like $40 million or some nothing ridiculous contract. Yeah. You could have signed him. You had an exclusive period. You said no, we'll wait. And even when you said that, he still was like, okay, I'll give you he was giving them the opportunity. You didn't capitalize. You lost. Like you said, you took a risk and you lost. It happens.
Yeah.
To your point, yeah, be like Frozen, Elsa, let it go, man.
Let it go. Keisha Cole's one of two. Let it go.
Keisha Cole too, yeah.
Let somebody let it go. It's like it's old news now. I just don't like when they know the Knicks are now sitting in a position where we've been in our best position in a long time. And even when it came out about the Giannis wanting to come to New York, which it was already a dead subject, to bring it out at the beginning of like when news about the Knicks is now, the media days are happening. It's like it's just cheap politics. Leave it alone. The Knicks are relevant. They're in a championship window right now. These little petty little stabs and dabs, I just think is just so unprofessional. Obviously, like I said, if the NBA could have fined James Dolan, you think they wouldn't find James Dolan a lot more? He's not the most liked person, even amongst the owners themselves. He's always adverse. He's always in opposition of a lot of things they want to do, especially with the TV deals now. He's definitely on his soapbox about that and how he's now relinquishing a lot of what would have been MSG broadcasting. He's not the most liked owner in the world, in the world of basketball. So to think that the NBA wouldn't have taken more picks from him and not fine-tooth comb and found out, yeah, they would have. And I'm going to tell people also, Leon Rose is a lawyer. At the end of the day, you don't think that they know what the hell they're doing or how to hide, a crumb underneath the crumb? Absolutely, they do. I'm only sure they've dotted every I and crossed every T to make sure whatever deal Jalen Brunson has, even if it's something off the court, they will never find it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he could make a claim that the Knicks were, and they did find something when they were going to the games and the playoffs and watching him play and all that. But that's all circumstantial. That you can't. There's no way to definitely prove that. Oh, they're there just to watch him. They just be there to watch a basketball game. There's no definitive proof anywhere. So,
and how can you watch when somebody's father? When you going to watch his father?
Yeah,
his father can't talk, but now all of a sudden his father can't talk for him. Come on, it's nepotism. Clearly, they all know each other. Sure. There's no even when the players know each other and they negotiate to have somebody come sign with them. Yeah, all of this non-talking, whatever they're not communicating is BS. Everybody knows what's going on behind the scenes. These deals are made way before they've even been broadcasted. So, needless to say, I was a little pissed off about that. I'm like, let that go. Let's go Knicks. We need to, concentrate on being a title and not some of these distractions that they're throwing out to keep themselves relevant. So, Cuban, go take a little bit of a damn break, all right? All right. Clearly, I'm choking Nita Heimlich maneuver because this is upsetting me too much. And too. So, maybe that's my food calling me. So wonderful show. Thank you guys. We had a pretty nice audience. I can see by the numbers. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week. I think it's actually the beginning of the season. Is it next Wednesday, I believe? Maybe?
Yeah, the season ends Friday. So, yeah.
So by Saturday, we'll know what the permanent roster is, who got cut, who stayed. Clearly, Brogdon has retired. So that puts a little bit of a wrinkle into the situation because now who do they keep? Do we keep the Utes? Is the Utes staying? Are we keeping Dadier and Kolick? Wouldn't be the worst case scenario to have some, like you said, some youth in the barrel. Mike Brown, I do believe he has a little bit of I always say he's the first coach I've seen who's on a hot seat, never even coached a game. But he's on a hot seat. This is a very, very hot seat that he's sitting on right now because it's championship or bust in New York City with a roster that you have to now figure out how to get some cohesion with. And there are some clunky pieces in the lineup. The starting five is pretty quality. Is good quality. But when you get to the depth of the bench, guy like Clarkson, wild card. Josh Hart, wild card. Both non-shooters, too, by the way. Both guys who are not great shooters. So there's a lot of things, as well as we can be happy about the Knicks. There are some question marks about the bench, which has been the biggest question mark to begin with. You still have no surety unless Yabusele comes in and becomes sixth man of the year, which is what anybody should be hoping is that he's a six-man candidate over Jordan Clarkson being one, because then you know that there's some more efficiency going on.
For sure.
Definitely a tougher team. So hopefully those shots that Clarkson's taking, they are levied over to Yabusele, and you figure out a way of getting him jump-started and being an intricate part of this team, a big part of this team. I think he's more bigger than putting Clarkson in just to do that heave-ho thing he's doing. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up. All Knicked Up family, thank you for tuning in with us, and we'll be back obviously next Wednesday. Let's go Knicks, and Yeah, championship or bust. Here we go. We'll see how it goes.
Yep, season starts. Let's
It's
go Knicks.
starting up. So for Eric and Ty, all Knicked Up family, we'd like to say good night to you. Enjoy your night.
Good night, everyone.